Good evening everybody and welcome back. Now tonight I thought I might have a look at this box. It's a mystery box. It's not really a mystery. It's sent by Carl Teller. He is the one that supplies my capacitors and various other radio parts that he gets manufactured. And he's been a great asset to my radio restoration career. You can see a link to his store in the description on this video. I strongly recommend you have a look, particularly if you live in Australia. So he sent me a message about a month ago saying that he's got a radio that he doesn't want. He said it's beyond his capabilities. No, he didn't. He just said he didn't want it. Ah, great. So he said, do you want it? So I said, I'll never say no to something free. So he sent it to me. He tells me it's a Stromberg-Carlson. I have no idea what model it is. There we go, get rid of the box there. Yeah, he did say it's got a crack across the top. Now, he said I was missing the 5x3 and he sent me a spare one. That's very kind of him. Good. I can see why he didn't want to fix it. Look at it. It's a mess. Oh. Yeah, okay. So it has got a crack. Oh, there it is there. That's not too bad. So, oh no, that sounds like the glass. No, the glass is smashed. Oh no. Well, it seems that the glass has been broken in transit, so unless I can get another one, there's no point in me continuing with this radio, which is a pity because it would have come up alright. The crack in the top there would have been fun to try and sort that out. I was going to try something I'd read on the internet to try and fix that, but at this stage I'm not going to bother. I'll wait till I see if I can get a new glass, and people do make reproductions, but whether they make it for this model I don't know. I thought before I start looking for a new dial, you might as well make sure that this radio is even going to be any good at all. So it's no good getting a new dial and then the radio is not worth fixing. I did up a Stromberg-Carlson some time ago and here it is. This was done before I started making videos of what I was doing. Now the front white part on this one that had shrunk so much that I had to build it out with body filler and stuff to make it the right length and height, and had cracks through it. So yeah, that's come up alright. That one looks nice. So there's no reason this one can't be the same. So I'll just have a quick peek inside and just see if it's even worth trying to repair. Now here's all the other bits of the dial glass inside. So if I was to try and recreate the dial glass, I'd need all those bits. Well, the case isn't too bad. It's lost its screw mount there. Someone's glued a nut on there to pick up a screw, and it's got a big crack in it. So, wow, okay. Well, there it is out of the case. It's got the standard little slater. I think you guys call them wood lice. Yeah, that's got rubber wire in it. I hope that's not what's inside down the bottom, which it probably is. It looks all there. Got a bit of rust on the back. Nothing that can't be fixed. There's the bottom of it. The wire isn't rubber coated, it's woven. It's quite stiff, but I think the wire inside is pretty stiff, so that wouldn't be an issue. There's a bit of rubber over here, but that's going off to the top there. That's probably the dial lights and stuff like that. Quite neatly laid out, I've got to say. It's very neatly laid out. All nice little squared off wires. That's great. There's one electrolytic there. I think that's an electrolytic in an aluminium can mounted on the top. That one's trying to get out. That's the front end of the radio. It looks quite alright too. So with all those caps changed, probably would have worked alright. There's a big resistor there. That looks a bit sad. It's probably alright. It probably just runs hot. Now, it looks like it's got rubber wire coming out of the transformer. So those ones that have to be resheathed, which means disconnecting everything from the transformer and pulling the transformer out. But transformer probably would come out anyway if I was going to attack the chassis, because it's very rusty. So this would be a paint job, I would think. So I think the next thing I need to do is just make sure this radio actually works. I suspect it will. I don't believe there's any reason it won't. It still looks pretty tidy underneath. It's got a lot of dust on the top, but I think it should work. I can't see any issues with it. I've tested the transformer. It's not shorted to ground or anything. It seems to be pretty good. So I've got my power supply running. I've set it at about 233 volts, and it's an isolated power supply. Dim bulb. I'm plugged in. I've got 2 meters running today. One's an analog one that's measuring the plate voltage of the 6V6 output valve, just to make sure we've got that when we put some power on. And that's on the 250 DC scale. Now this little fella here is on the grid bias of the output valve, and just make sure we haven't got any positive bias there. I ran a radio a bit too long the last time I did one, so I'll just monitor that. Now I've got my Variac set at 234. I've got it set to dim bulb, and we'll put some power on. It should work. Just watch this globe. It should go bright, go dim. We should get 13, 14 watts on here, somewhere around there if this is working normally. So I'll put some power on. And we've got plate voltage, dim down, and we've got 15 watts there, so that's about right. I think it's actually working. I can hear some hum. We've got everything we need. 154 volts isn't much. So I'm going to go to full power. Just pull the Variac back a bit. I'll go to full power and the voltage will come up. I can definitely hear a hum. And there it is. Let's take it up a bit higher than that. Yeah.
Not that they don't want to join, they're actively stopped. The Taiwanese Red Cross is blocked from attending meetings of the World Health Organization.
Okay, there's Herman, 193, so everything looking pretty good. I'll just put it up to the 230 odd volts. No smoke anywhere. So they're roughly 230, there we go. And 37 watts, that seems a bit high for this little radio. So probably some leaky capacitors in there somewhere, maybe, I don't know. Now, what have we got here? The plate voltage is just on 200, just under 200 perhaps. And the grid bias for the output valve is minus 16. Okay, that's pretty high, or low. Would have thought maybe 11, 10, 11. Let's see what's going on there. Yeah. Anyway, it's working. That's the main thing. That's all I wanted to know. So this is able to be repaired and brought back to full working condition. I'll just turn it off because I don't know what it's doing in there. So there's 3 parts to this radio that need to be addressed. The first one is the glass. The second one is the radio itself, and that's working fine. The third one is the case. Is it salvageable? Is it going to look any good when it's finished? So I'm going to go out into the workshop and I'll see what I can do to fix that crack up the top, and that might be interesting. I'm going to try a new method that I haven't tried before. There's the crack there. It runs right from the back right to the front, but it stops about here somewhere. So luckily it hasn't gone all the way through. What would be good would be to stop drilling into that crack to make sure it doesn't keep going, but I can't do that because I'll have a hole in my cabinet. So I've cleaned all the old adhesive off that was there from the sticky tape, and I've wrapped some masking tape around the entire cabinet just to pull the crack tight. Now the standard adhesive for Bakelite is super glue to join the crack together. Now someone said they fill it with super glue, then sand it, and the little bits of the Bakelite that they sand off fills up the super glue and it becomes a invisible crack. It won't be invisible, but it'll hide it better than just using super glue by itself. I got some super glue here. Pull the case together. I will just pour it on here and it'll wick into the crack. And then I'm going to try and wet sand it with some wet and dry, see what happens. The worst case is I'll get super glue everywhere. I'll still super glue the crack together. Okay, so I'll give this a go. There you go. You can see it wicking through there now. I'll just wait till it gets further down. Alright, I'm going to try sanding this at it. There it is. It has filled it up with some of the brown out of the where I've rubbed off the Bakelite. Now the idea was that you're sanding the Bakelite and colouring the super glue at the same time. So it has filled it up with some brown dusty looking super glue. So I'm going to let it sit for, you probably need to leave it for about 24 hours actually, and let the super glue completely cure. And then we'll see what I can do as far as sanding it. I'll reinforce the back and make sure that is secure, and see how it polishes up. It'll be interesting to see. This has been here about 18 hours. I haven't reinforced the back yet, which I will do. I just want to see how it comes out. I probably should reinforce the back first before I start rubbing away at things, but oh well, we'll see what happens. The worst thing is it'll break again. Now where I've sanded the brown into it, it's a much lighter brown, so it's kind of highlighting it a bit, I think. Now that's sanded very smooth and flat, so yeah, it's good, nice and level. Now I saw another guy on YouTube, and I think his name is All American 5 something. He used a stain to colour Bakelite as well, so I just wonder. He used a gel stain, which I don't have access to here. Yeah, and it's as I thought, the super glue's not taking it up. I might have spoken too soon. That has coloured it to a degree. I think that adhesive has actually made a little bit of a groove. I wonder if I was to clean all this off again and just run a very tiny bead along there to make it level, then sand that off. I put a little bit of super glue across the crack. Hopefully it'll fill up the little divots in it, and I can sand that back smooth. Yeah, okay, this is dried. It's been quite a few hours. I'll sand it off, see what happens this time. Alright, well I've sanded that right back. It's very, very smooth. You can't feel it at all anymore. So hope I haven't damaged the Bakelite around it. This is some automotive cut and polish. Now I'm going to do this with a milder cutting polish. This is the pink one that I use. I'll just buff that off. I've just finished that off with a bit of Brasso and Canava wax, and you know, it looks, oh gosh, it doesn't look too bad. So I'm happy with that. I'm going to leave it like that. I think this radio will come along all right. I'll finish the rest of the case. I will put some sort of bracing in there just to reinforce it. If someone picks this up by the back again, that's just going to snap. I think the case is going to come up okay. I've managed to secure a new dial glass for here. It's in the post as we speak. So I'm going to remove all the rust and recoat the chassis with a rust-proof coating. So I'm going to have to take out all the valves. The IF transformers have to come out. Speaker, the tuning capacitor's got to come out, and the transformer, a little choke around here. There's even the aerial coils around the back there. That's even mounted on top of the chassis to make everything harder for me. You might think, why put any effort into this radio? It's not worth anything, and you're absolutely correct. I have no idea why I'm doing it. I really should be concentrating on more deserving candidates, I suppose. But anyway, we'll get to them all eventually, so I'm going to make this look nice as I can. The first thing I'm going to do is just take all the valves out, and then one by one I'll just take all the other components out. Well, there it is, all stripped off. I can go out now and clean all this up, and I'll give it a coat to protect it against rust again. Now, I had to cut a lot of the capacitors out of the way, like cut one leg to move it out of the way so I could get the screws underneath. So it could be interesting getting this back together. I hope I can work it out. I'm ready to clean all this off, and I'm going to put them in the media blaster and blast all the rust away and just clean it up a bit. There's some other junk around the place. It'll take off the decal off the back, but I'll replace that. I'm going to put this in too, just to get the rust off here and try and clean that up a bit. And probably that. There's some other small stuff I'll put in as well. Okay, so it's been media blasted. All the rust is gone now. I've masked it up, ready to paint. So in case you haven't seen this before, I always do this, and I've done it a number of times. These are magnets you get from the real estates or whatever to put on your fridge. And I just use those. They're good. And you just reuse them again. I've also put little circles of masking tape on the rivets. I knock them out with a wad punch and then just stick them on top of the rivets. Looks much better when you do that, and take those off later, and doesn't look like it's been painted. Now, the coatings that I use to paint these chassis and transformers and whatever are a rust guard type paint. Not necessarily this brand, but whatever colour I need. You paint it straight over the rust once it's all cleaned up. It'll last for years, so these are really good for this. Well, the painting's all done now, and it's been sitting overnight, so it's dry. It's not quite hard yet, but I don't have to put it together for a day or so it'll harden up a bit more. I've cleaned a lot of the hardware up as well, and I'm still doing that. I've just got some little nuts and bolts to clean up. So I'm just going to remove all the masking and get this chassis back to what it was. I have to go inside now and work on the transformer. So I'll finish this off, and then I'll see you inside. There's a few other things I've done while the paint was drying, and one of them is this capacitor. It's a 16 microfarad capacitor. It was leaking out the bottom, and it actually eaten away the tab. It wasn't even connected anymore, it was just floating. So I've restuffed it. I took out the old leaking paper and wax and restuffed it with a new 16 microfarad capacitor. So that's done, and I'll just connect that back in and it'll look original. Now, another thing I've done while I'm waiting is this IF transformer. The wire coming out that goes to the valve grid had fallen apart and the coating's coming off. So I've put a new wire in there, just soldered it up, and I just need to push that back in, and it just has little notches there that they've folded over to hold it. So I'll do that, and that'll be finished. What I'm going to do now is this transformer, which is looking pretty good after its paint job. Now, the problem is some of the wires are rubber coated and they just break apart. So I'm going to remove this old insulation and replace it with a plastic insulation. Now I'm just going to do one wire at a time. There's little indicators I made up here to show me where this wire goes. So I want to keep track of that. So I'll get that off. Now it should be just a matter of pulling this insulation off or breaking it off, whatever it needs to do. I'll just have to cut that end off. It's stopping me pulling it over it. There we go. Now, it's got to be very careful I don't pull on the wire where it's in the transformer, otherwise I'll disconnect it from its wire. So there's the wire there. It's just got a little bit of the rubber on the bottom. That's okay, I'll leave that there. I don't think that'll move, and it'll just help keep it separated. When I finish this, I'm going to put some high temperature hot glue in there to just make sure they don't move around. What I'm using here is just some plastic insulation off a 240 volts mains supply cable that you would runs around in our house. Not our house. I didn't get some out of our house, but I managed to get some, and I've just stripped out the innards on it, and I'll just hopefully push this all the way up. So that's that wire done. I'm happy with that. I've got to do these two. They're the same as this wire. These two wires here have a different shielding on them, and they're fine. There's no problem with those. So I'll do these two and I'll come back. Well, I've done the other two wires. I'm going to put some hot glue in there just to hold these casings in place so they don't short or move or pull out. This is high temperature hot glue, so it'll withstand the temperatures that the transformer is going to get up to. That glue's almost set now, so I'm going to turn my attention to the wires on the bottom. Here's the bottom of the transformer. Here's two good wires, I don't have to worry about those. These ones need to be replaced, obviously. So I'm going to do exactly the same thing as I did on the top. I'm going to use red wire only because I stripped off the black and you get an equal amount of red. And in case you're wondering, Australia uses red for active and black for neutral. So I believe the Americans use black and white. Black's the active, but we use red. So I'm going to use this on the bottom. Alright, those three are finished, and I'll just hot glue these again. Well, that's set nicely, so I can now reroute all these wires and I can mount this back on the chassis. As I said, this is a hot temperature glue. It's 165 degrees Celsius. Well within the temperature range of the transformer. It's not going to start softening or melting. Time to start assembling this again. So I just need to feed these wires in. I've put some new grommets on the chassis there for the wires. I've just put some cardboard there to protect the paint while I try and position this transformer. So I've marked all these, as you know. That one says pin 6 on the secondary, and that one says pin 4, so they just go like that. So I'll just solder those in. So that's 2 done. Well, after about 3 days' work, this puppy's back together. It had more wrong with it than I could possibly imagine, and I ended up having to change pretty much all the components in it. Some of the original capacitors still there, the mica ones, but I changed just about every other. So it's getting close to the time where I've got to put some power on it and see if it's even going to work. I don't hold 100% confidence, because I did pull lots of parts out and I had to take lots of parts out at once, which I don't like doing. Here's all the resistors I had to replace and the capacitors. I think there's only 3 original resistors left in the radio. Right, well, I can't put this off any longer. I've been putting it off as long as I can, but I've run out of excuses. So it's all connected to the power. I've got 230 volts and I've got it on dim bulb. We should see around 13. I should expect that'll be a bit less than it was before. If the light goes on bright, I'm turning it straight off. Looks good. 13, 14. They're looking good. Doesn't mean it's going to work, but at least it didn't smoke. I'm not hearing anything yet. Well, that part working from there on seems to be going right. Can't hear anything there. Everything looks normal. 14 watts. I need a bigger bulb, but sucks out too much power. So I'm going to go to full power. Let's see if I can hear it. Yeah, there it goes.
Government has lifted a 24-hour curfew. And Papua New Guinea's Prime Minister says the country will take control of a major mine after refusing an application from the current operator. Natalie Whiting with the details.
The world's second biggest gold mining company, Barrick Gold, is the majority owner of the Porgera mine in Guinea's... James Mark says that traffic
On 48. In Island 5, 9, 2 and 6. Fuel carrying fuel, water and food have completed a successful docking at the International Space Station.
Well, there you go. It actually works. I'm very, very relieved. Happy. I expected it would work. I took things very slowly and did one thing at a time as much as I could, although I had to have many components disconnected at once at some times, so I've obviously got them back in the right place. So that's working as well as it was, or it should be better actually. So as I said, I expected it to work, but in the back of my mind I thought there could be something wrong that I've done. Excellent. I took lots and lots of photos before I pulled this apart so that I could have some hope of getting it back together, and it's just as well I did, because I had to refer to it quite a number of times. I was trying to connect wires the wrong way around, and I thought, hang on a minute, I better check, and there it was the wrong way. So very handy to take photos, and it saved me. Now something else I'll point out, we're on about 235 volts and it's now only pulling 34.7 odd watts, where it was nearly 40 if I remember, it was 39 I think. So the capacitors were leaking and drawing more current. And if you recall, this is the overheated resistor on the centre tap going back to ground, so that's why it was overheated, because it had way too much current being drawn through it. I'm trying to determine where the stations are so that I can do an alignment on this. I don't know how you're supposed to do it. Unless there was a little card or something hung in there to get it, I don't know. So what I've done is put it back in the case for a second, and I've just put some masking tape around where the edges of the glass are, or the cutout where the glass would have been. So I can lift the case off again. The glass has got a dirty mark where the case used to be, so if I put that on my masking tape, that there, and about there, I'm pretty confident they're lined up pretty close to where they should be. Now there's the station I need, 7ZL, so I can put a mark there and just knock it away, but it's right on the tip corner of the tape there. Now the other one I need is 3XY, so I'm not sure I'm going to do that. Is that going to work? Alright, so now I've got to set it all up again. Now, I just put the glass back on again, and I've actually, that 3XY is spot on, and this 7ZL is just a little bit out, so it's not much. So that'll be it. and I'm very happy with that one. So I'll just put a mark there. When the time comes, it'll point to the spots. Now these are significant. That's 600 kilohertz and that's 1422, I think, or 1420. So I can align it using those two marks. I'm going to do an alignment on this radio. I've connected the generator to the grid cap of the mixer valve. So I've got a 0.047 capacitor there as a bit of a dummy. I've connected a 0.01 capacitor to the plate of the output valve, and that's connected to my multimeter. I've also got my generator set to 455, which is the IF frequency of this radio. So I'll just turn the volume on the radio up full. I've got minimum signal coming in on the generator. And we can read it on the meter there. This is the second IF transformer. Let's see if we get much out of these. Wow. I just turned the meter to 50 volts AC. Alright, that's good. I'll just swing around and do the top of this one. And here's the top of the same transformer. Now this is the top of the first IF. So I'd say that was pretty close. This is the bottom of the first IF. Alright, I've got those close. I'm going to go and do the whole thing again. I won't bother filming it, I'll just do it and just make sure they're all spot on, and then I'll come back and we'll do the RF alignment. I went through those 4 adjustments another 3 times to get it right, and it's spot on now, so I'll move on to the next bit. Now I'm going to do the RF alignment of the dial. So 600 on the generator now. I've connected the generator to the area with a 33 puff capacitor. I've got my pointer somewhere near where I think 600 is. I'll just turn the volume up. I got the generator on minimum. Yeah, they're not quite there. This is the oscillator coil. Just adjust that. I think it's a bit wrong. Alright, that's maximum there. I'm going to go to 1420 on the generator, and 1420 is 3XY in Melbourne, and that's the station I marked. There we go. So I wind that over there, line that up. I should have maximum signal. Not likely, but it might. It's there. Okay, so it's not far out. Alright, this is the oscillator trimmer. I'm just going to adjust that. Hopefully you can bring it back. Oh, that's loud. Now I've got to go back to 600 and we'll check it down there. So I'll wind this back to 600. I've got the generator on 600. I think we were about there somewhere. Yeah, that's spot on. So happy with that. Back to 1420. Alright, generator's on 1420. Now just again to adjust the signal to maximum. This is the antenna trimmer. I'll just adjust that and we'll get the maximum signal, and that'll be the end of it. Okay, that's enough noise. From my rudimentary markings, we'll assume that that's correct. When I get the new dial, I'll just check it, double check it, make sure it's close enough. I'm not going to worry too much. Most of the stations aren't where they used to be anyway, so it's all a bit irrelevant. But I will adjust it. But you've got to take it in and out of the case to adjust it. It's quite a strange setup. Now, another little job I have to do is this speaker. Someone in the comments several radios ago said, why don't you try liquid electrical tape? It's a rubber paint, so works quite well on speakers. So this might be good. I've used it a few times on some speakers and it seems to work all right. It stays in a rubber form pretty much. So good for areas where the speaker is trying to move. Case in point would be here where the suspension is, where the speaker needs to flex. And this is quite thick enough that you can just paint it on little holes like this, and you don't need any filler, and fills it up nicely and stays reasonably flexible. Only thing is, it's pretty strong smell. So I'm putting this on and I'm going to go and have my dinner and let the room air out. It smells alright initially, and then after a while you think, wow, that's strong. Now sometimes the little holes reappear because these ones are fairly big relatively. So like that one there's just come back. So you just keep painting over it, it'll go away. So that's a good fix, and I've forgotten who wrote the comment, but thanks. I think that's going to work really well. It's the next morning and I'm just having a look at the repair I did with that liquid electrical tape, and it's really nice. It thins out once it's drying. It sort of goes into quite a thin layer, so it's quite good. It's still flexible, that you can still flex it. So that's not a bad repair, I reckon. I also gave this a quick spray with some black enamel paint in a rattle can, 2 short bursts of half a second. So very little paint deposit on there, so it's not going to affect the weight of the cone. Not only does it look good, but it stiffens the cone up, takes it back to something like it was originally. And any extra weight is negligible. It'd be virtually nothing. Now you'll recall that I lost all the text on the back here because I sandblasted and then painted it. So I made up a decal. I took a photo of the original and scanned it, and then made this one exactly the same. I've got a bowl here. I'm just going to put some water in it. I'm going to leave that there for about 30 seconds. I have sprayed the transfer with clear lacquer before I've done this, so I printed it and then sprayed it with a clear lacquer. Righto, that's been long enough. So just put that on there. Now what do you do? So I guess alright, well I had to play with that a fair bit actually, more than I thought, but it's on there now. So there it is. That's as close a replica as I could make of the original. As I said, I photographed it, scanned it, I put it in the artwork program, and then just put their names to match the existing text underneath, and then printed it out, and there it is. The transfer paper I got offline. They're available from printing supplies places. They had a laser one and an inkjet. I got a laser, so I ordered the laser one. As you can see, the glass has arrived and I've fitted it. I've also cleaned and polished the case. So I think I'm ready to put the chassis back in. Alright, let's have a go at putting this back. I've put some felts on the knobs, so I'll put them back in. Now I'm going to check the alignment of the pointer and the glass with the new glass. So I'm going to wind it over to 3XY again. And it's right about there. So that's pretty close to it, and a bit hard to see in the camera there, but there's a 3XY in there. Now I've got the generator on 1420, so I'll just see if we've got it somewhere near there. Turn that up, turn the radio off. Nothing. Wow. Well, that's disappointing. It's a mile out. Now I've got to go back to the Tasmanian one, which is ZL. That's there. You can probably see that one. I've set the meter on 600. Ah, it's way up there. Alright. I'll have to take it out of the case again and try and adjust it. So I think what I'll do is I'll leave the I'll leave the pointer on 3ZL like that. I'll take it out of the case, put a mark inside here, put it back in, and then go over to 3XY, leave the needle there, and I'll take the radio out again and make a mark over there. Then I'll have the 2 points. Okay. Well, I've done that. I've found the 2 marks. That's 1420 and 600 kilohertz. Now I've also got the original marks there. That's what I adjusted it to yesterday at 600 and 1422, and they're a long way out. My calculation couldn't have been that far out. Something's not right. Unless, hang on. Okay, here's the old broken glass. I've overlaid it on top of the new glass. This new glass is from a later model, so it's different. And there's 3XY where I lined up the other day. And here's 3XY here. Hard to see, but that's it there. So there's a good centimetre difference there. So that's what's going on. And this ZL over here is the same. That on the old radio was up here somewhere. So that's why it's not working. So how do we fix that? I'll just try and work this out. There's the oscillator there. There's the tuning capacitor. And there's a little trimmer that we're using to trim it up at the 1420 mark. I need to increase the capacitance of that so that it can trim a bit higher up. So if I put a capacitor here, say 15 puff, that will add to that capacitor. That might just give us enough range. So I'll start with 15 and see if that works. I've never tried anything like this before, so I'm experimenting. Now I've just tacked a 15 puff cap there. That's just a guess. We'll see what happens. This is the oscillator trimmer, so I'm going to ground that. So I'll just put a clip lead on there. This is going to play havoc with it. I've got the signal generator on 1420. That's the old adjustment. So now if I put this clip lead to ground, and that'll ground our little capacitor, we'll see where it goes. Oh wow, look at that. Well, that's the best guess I've ever made. I don't even have to adjust it. It's right on it. Alright, now the other end of it shouldn't be affected too much by this capacitor being on the trimmer, because that obviously the tuning capacitor's got more capacity than this is. So if I put it back here, of course we've got to adjust the other end, don't we? So now I put the generator down to 600. Let's turn the radio up. I'll just see where it's still where it was. Yeah, so that's made very little difference down the bottom there. In fact, probably none. So if I put that to there, I'll see if I can pull that down to 600. Might be a bit of an ask. So this is the oscillator slug. Not far off it actually. Okay, we're nearly there. There it goes. So I'll wind it over to 1420. We'll just see if this trimmer now has the range to cover that. Might be a bit lucky here. Oh no, it's coming in. Oh, there it is. Let's whack it back to 600 again, change my generator. Alright, well that's worked out alright. So I've managed to stretch the scale out. Very good. So what I've got to do now is fit that capacitor permanently and do a proper adjustment again, and should be alright. Now I'm really kidding myself. I've stretched this range out, but because the tuning capacitor itself has most of the effect here, it'll probably be condensed, I would think, down in this area. So we'll have a look in a second. In the meantime, I'm going to fit that capacitor properly. I soldered the capacitor in. I've adjusted this accurately now, and I'll put this all back in the case again. Alright, it's all back in the box, screwed in. I'm not taking it out again. Alright, just set the pointer to 4KQ, which is right there. That's the local station at 693, so I'll put the Get the volume up a bit. So I'll dial 693 here. There it is. Close enough. Oh, I'll take that. Right, the only other stations, there's a government station down here, and there's another government station here, which I think is QG. It's now RN, and there's another one, 4BH is over here somewhere, which is around here back in the old days. So I reckon that'll do. I'm happy with that. Okay, the little radio is working quite nicely.
This is the moment of opportunity. It is also the moment of maximum risk, because I know...
The sound had a lot of top end, and it was tinny and no bass. So I changed the capacitor across the output transformer. It had a 0.003 in there. I changed it to 0.01, and that took the top end off, and you can put it a bit louder, and of course you get a bit more bass. Not that it's got a lot of bass, but... So it sounds good now. I checked all the voltages and the bias voltages, and they all came up perfect after I changed all those components. I will say that I've grown quite fond of this little guy. I didn't think much of it initially, but after I polished it and we put the glass in, I painted the little indicator pointer there orange to put some colour in there, and looks good. It actually looks a quite neat radio. I couldn't imagine anyone buying it initially, but it's quite a nice little radio. Thanks to Carl for supplying the radio and most of the parts that I put in it. So if you need parts for your radio, have a look at Carl. He's in the description down the bottom, and he's got an eBay store. You can go and buy what you like for your radio off there. I hope you enjoyed watching this. I actually enjoyed doing the radio. I was a bit reluctant to start with, but got into it after a while. Had a lot of fun, so I learned a little bit too on the way. So if you enjoyed watching this, I hope you'll join me for my next radio adventure.
The Green Hornet. He hunts the biggest of all game, public enemies that even the G-men cannot reach. The Green Hornet.